Snaking its way through the countryside of Southern Virginia, this beautiful 3.2-mile strip of asphalt has been around since 1957. But now, for the second time in 3 years, the Virginia International Raceway is home to the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. Welcome to the final day of the 59th running of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs from beautiful Virginia International Raceway, thanks to Mazda as the presenter of our broadcast. Hi, my name's John Phippen. I'm with you alongside Larry Lefty McLeod as we are getting ready for our final Formula Car race. Nope, that's not true. I lied. The Formula Continental race coming up. We got one more for Formula Prize 2 a little later this afternoon, but this is the Formula Continental. And Lefty, Formula Continental is kind of an in-between class. You know, it's not a Formula Ford, but it's not a Formula Atlantic.
It's more like Formula Ford with just a bit more horsepower and wings. These are it's a very similar chassis. A lot of the drivers cross over between them. So the story today, though, will be what setup are they running specifically, as I can see our camera already checking out the tires. This Formula Continental is required either the Hoosier Dry or the Hoosier Wet. There are no intermediate options for these guys, so they all had to decide. Looks like they seeing a lot of grooves down there.
Exactly, and this track has really been a challenge for these drivers all weekend long because we've had weather. We've got the track map, the 17-turn, 3.27-mile circuit. Lefty, take us around one.
Yeah, especially in damp conditions. Turn one is a downhill braking zone. The left side of the track is very slippery. We'll see what multi-wide braking into one is going to look like. It's going to be very fast for these cars coming around the kink at 2 and all the way through the NASCAR Bend 3 into that very, very tight and treacherous left hook turn 4. They're going to go through the snake, pretty much flat out in these cars, and then go flying the upper climbing S's 7, 8, and 9. Going to be very fast around 10. The South Bend, our red line kind of shows you where we're going. Then the other most important corner on the course, turn 12, where the old oak tree used to be, sends you back up the Madison Avenue. Be a lot of drafting in these cars to try and make passes as they approach the top of the hill and the roller coaster. In the rain and the mist, turn 17 is Hog Pen, very, very treacherous. It's going to be wet, and a lot of folks might be aiming for grass.
Indeed. We've had lots of offs there at Hog Pen. We've had lots of offs in the braking area for turn 1 on the damp track. But we've got our third member of our broadcast crew on the false grid, Hayward Wagner. Good morning, Hayward.
Guys, as Larry just said, only 2 tire choices, full wet or full dry. In these conditions, it's a no-brainer. Everybody went full wet. But I do want to show you a couple of differences in cars. The pole sitter Allaer car, look at the complexity of the front wing on this car. You've got several different elements. You've almost got some tunnels running on it. The car right beside him, much more of the old school flat wing on the nose. But this is the part Larry's really going to be interested in. Look at how trimmed out the back of the pole sitter wing is, nice and flat back here. How much more angle is being run on this car and the third qualifier as well. So straight line, pole sitter should have a pretty big advantage. Front end gear probably an advantage, but these guys are going to be able to put power down coming out of the corners just a little bit better with more aero work at the back.
And of course, you know, the rain is always the great equalizer, as cars with a great straight line advantage or perhaps a horsepower advantage can't really put it to good use because they've got a damp racetrack to contend with.
Yeah, very fascinating, as here we're pointing out that the different angles of attack. A lot of these drivers I talked to said if it goes wet, they would crank all the downforce in they can get. Very interesting, Nolan Allaer there on that pole position, not running the high downforce, but still on the otherwise wet setup. His father is in this field, a 2-time champ in this class, Rob Allaer. He'll be gridded 6th, so maybe between them, maybe trading different setups and trying different things because of their position on this track.
Yeah, exactly, just to see, you know, who's got the better setup. Nolan going for maybe the same kind of setup that he set the pole on Thursday to actually he set the pole his fast time on Wednesday in the second qualifying day, and you know,
and he was very fast between he and Sikes and Miner. The 3 of those guys are flying around here. To get a pole time in an FC car under a 150 is an amazing achievement. That's talk about having been able to hit every single mark out there. Nolan Allaer able to do it. These guys fight with each other in the F2000 series. A couple of them, as an Allaer was able to run in the Formula F race earlier this weekend. So getting extra seat time, and that race was wet, might be a bit of an advantage here in this. Another one in the field that also was in that race in Formula F, Trevor Russell, who also ran in the FX race in this exact same car. So there's a couple of drivers now have had a chance to see this track wet, perhaps maybe an advantage for them.
Total of 12 drivers, lots of experience, only a single rookie making his first runoff start in this field. Let's introduce the 12 starters for you, and that rookie will start outside of row number 6, the 58 of Mike Pepitone out of Falls Church, Virginia, near the Washington, D.C. area. He's in a Van Diemen, as is the entire field, with 2 exceptions. As we move into the inside of row number 6, car number 27, Hartley McDonald out of Mulberry, Florida, in the Florida region. In row 5, car 22, Hunter Tatman out of Windsor, Colorado, in the Colorado region. Alongside him in 9th place, the 41 of Glenn Cordova from Effort, Pennsylvania, racing out of the New York region. Row 4 on the outside, the 26 of Rick Silver out of Durwood, Maryland, in the D.C. region. And Rick Payne, the 2015 Formula F national champ. Rick in the 75 car out of Mission, British Columbia, and the Northwest region. We talked about Bob Allaer, the father of our pole sitter, the 52 of Allaer out of Grosse Pointe Woods, Michigan. He races out of the Central Florida region. And next to him is the 32 of Trevor Russell, already a gold medal winner this weekend with the Formula X Championship. Tucson, Arizona, his home, and the Arizona region. Michael Varacins, who has 7 national championships, almost all of them in Formula V, most recently in 2018, moves up to Formula Continental. Michael Varacins in the 65 out of Burlington, Wisconsin, and the Chicago region. This is his 21st runoff start. One driver eligible for the Super Sweep, and that's Tim Miner. He will start 3rd. He's one of Sports Cars' picks to finish on the podium. Local driver out of Fredericksburg, Virginia. He is the 2019 champion of this class right here at VIR. He's in one of the 2 citations in the field. The other citation, Simon Sikes, picked by Sports Car to win this one. He'll start outside of row 1 in the number 13 car out of Martinez, Georgia, and the Atlanta region. And your pole sitter, we've already alluded to him, Nolan Allaer, son of Bob, in the number 11, also out of Grosse Pointe, Michigan, and the Detroit region in a Van Diemen RF02.
Yeah, so it looks like at least everyone's going to be on the same tire. Maybe, again, different setups. You might see different ride heights, different springs, and lots of things happening to make these cars go fast in these kind of conditions. For the most part, similar engines. So you've got a couple of options here. You've got the twin cam Z-Tech newer generation motor, and there's a few of them still out there running the Pinto single cam 2-liter motor. Most notably, I think it was Rick Silver and I believe Mike Pepitone. Both of them, I believe, are on the Pinto motors. The rest of the front runners, having run a lot of competitive races with each other, they're all on the twin cam Z-Techs.
Exactly right. As this field weaving its way through the Oak Tree Bend, the double apex right-hander at the southern tip of this racetrack. It's an area of the track that has been busy this weekend because it's been wet most of the weekend. In fact, even yesterday when we had a dry track for about 3/4 of the length of the track, this whole little southern tip of the track was soaking wet. And so drivers on dry tires came barreling down here. In fact, we had a pole sitter go off, being the canary in the coal mine, if you will, getting to that area first, going off into the weeds. So it is a treacherous track, and unfortunately the weather forecast for this afternoon indicates there may be some more showers before we are done. But we're in the final afternoon of this 2022 edition of the Runoffs, and we are looking forward to this one. Formula Continental always puts on a good show. Nolan Allaer and Simon Sikes on the front row, Tim Miner and Michael Varacins. Between the 3 of them, or the 4 of them, there are 9 gold medals. Varacins with 7 of them.
A lot of former champs in this field. Simon Sikes, defending champ in this class. Rob Allers won this back at 18, and I believe at 20. Rick Payne won Formula F. Tim Miner's got some championships, and of course Michael Varacins with the V. So there's a lot of drivers with a lot of experience in here, along with the young kids up front. So this could be an exciting race in these conditions.
Simon Sikes, the 2-time and defending champion. Tim Miner winning it the last time the Runoffs were here in 2019. The field nicely formed up. The safety car pulls into the pit lane, turning the field over to Nolan Allaer and Simon Sikes, as they have to wait to get to that lime green cone you see off to your right. That's the acceleration zone. They're just waiting for the green flag to fly. You'll hear the revs come up just as soon as they see the green flag. And there it is. We are green. And a drag race between the top 2. Nolan Allaer and Simon Sikes. Allaer getting a good run from the pole as they come down into a damp turn 1. This has been the scene of some incidents as these drivers carrying a little too much speed on this first lap. And there it is. Our pole sitter does just that as he takes a little too much pace into turn number 1. Around the outside, he's going to come on almost at the back. And another car spinning off.
Didn't quite catch which one that was,
Didn't
but
catch the number.
yeah, Nolan might be regretting going a little bit lower downforce, having a little bit of trouble. Also, he was on that side of the track, the left side, where there's a lot of oil down there, a lot of sealer. That's not the grippy spot in these conditions. But also, I'd see Michael Varacins off with a pretty good start there. I believe he had gotten himself up into that third spot there in that number 65, now in fourth. So a lot of experience there in that number 65. We'll see what he can do with that here today.
Simon Sikes and Tim Minor starting to put some distance on the rest of the field already, as we see Michael Varacins trying to make a move to get up into third spot as they work their way through the climbing S's. You'll see these formula cars, for the most part, avoiding those curbs.
That's the 75 of Rick Payne making the pass. Wow, right there between the climbing S's and South Bend. Tough spot to squeeze that in, but he does very quick already early on in this race.
Rick Payne, that car being a little squirrely as they work their way through Oak Tree. There's the 52 car of your pole sitter, not your pole sitter, excuse me, the 52 car of his father, Bob Allaer, similar livery on those two cars. And you can see there's father and son separated by one more car. There goes Nolan juking to the inside, trying to make up for lost ground. He's right behind his dad. Here they come side by side. Simon Sikes. 13 cars still with the lead. Simon Sikes right behind him. The 32 of Trevor Russell up into that third spot. I thought that was Michael Varacins, but it wasn't. It's Trevor Russell up into that second spot.
Trevor's the one that took the win in this exact same car in Formula X. Look at that big slide. He's a little bit of curve coming down through Hog Pen. Trevor, that young man, 17 years old, was out there earlier working on that car to get it ready, but already run 2 races this week, Formula F and Formula X. And having been out there in this same car in Formula X could be a bit of advantage as well when it comes to setup, as he's going to try and chase down our leader right now, Simon. Simon Sikes very quick in this place. Defending champ, and you can see in that third spot coming up behind them should be, is that Rick Payne in the 75? It is.
Yeah, Rick Payne up into third spot.
Yeah, seventh.
Yeah, Tim Minor back to fourth with Michael Varacins in fifth. Nolan Allaer got around his dad. I don't know whether there were any team owners involved in that, but nonetheless.
Well, I can tell you Nolan's already on the back of Varacins. Nolan looking very quick right now, taking the move to the inside, trying to get position on Varacins. It's not that grippy down that inside, but if you can shove your nose down there and have the position, it makes it very difficult for Varacins to do anything through that corner. And Nolan now with the advantage as they enter the snake.
Up into fifth spot is the pole sitter after that mistake on the first turn of the first lap. Working their way through the lower S's, they call the snake. Under the bridge, our commentary position just off to camera left as they work their way into the climbing S's.
And look at the gap he's already created between himself and Varacins. Varacins, yes, he's got those 7 championships. He did switch over to Formula Continental just a couple of years ago, but he has not run very many races in the last 2 seasons. So admittedly, he knows that he may be a bit of a disadvantage to some of these young kids out there. And that off, it's the 66.
Don't see a 66 on our entry list. Perhaps I missed that one. It's Gabriel Jasper with the off. Sorry, we didn't introduce Gabriel. Apparently a late entry here. So Gabriel Jasper with an issue. We turn our attention back to the lead battle.
Didn't have Gabriel on our qualifying sheet, but I did see him earlier with rain tires on. So he was getting ready to race. I don't know what the story is there, but this is Nolan Allaer now really making his way quickly through. Maybe now he's got a chance to try and eyeball Rick Payne out in front of him for that third spot. You can see the yellow car. That's Payne.
Yep, Payne is in third. So Nolan Allaer in a single lap, basically, has worked his way from almost dead last up into perhaps the bronze medal position.
Nolan, the quickest car, not surprisingly, on the track, as he's even to the leaders, about a half a second to a full second faster than what Sikes and Russell are doing. Sikes just turned 2:10.2, Allaer 2:10.1, so picked up a 10th on that lap for Nolan, despite working through some traffic. A 75 of Payne now off.
Getting a little bit wide, riding the rim around the outside of the horseshoe as they come into a NASCAR turn again with the track wet. The dry track line, clipping the apex of every turn is not necessarily the fastest way around, as the area of the track that doesn't normally get a lot of traffic will have more grip because the asphalt has not been worn smooth, doesn't have a layer of compressed rubber and oil down inside it. And Nolan Allaer all over the back of Rick Payne here as he's trying to get up to third and set sights. As he's just driving right around Rick Payne.
Does Payne yield? Does he give? He does a little bit. Decides not to try the side-by-side through these. We've seen earlier in the week, even in wet conditions, trying side-by-side, but not in open wheel. Open wheel is definitely a little bit more treacherous to go sticking themselves wheel into wheel. There's no body panels to help keep those things separate, but Nolan, great job there. So fast climbing those S's.
Exactly. Up into Oak Tree now, so he's in the medal positions. And I'm sure with a little bit of red mist under that visor after making that mistake. And you can see Trevor Russell up ahead. And not that far in front of him is Simon Sikes, about 2 seconds out in front after a couple laps. There is your leader, Simon Sikes, as he comes up to the top of the hill. 130-foot drop down the roller coaster. Turns 16 and 17.
Simon and Trevor are basically teammates, both running with the Rice Prep Shop there. It doesn't look like it, of course, on Trevor's car, but Trevor was running in the Formula F race in a fully Rice-prepped Formula F car. So these two very, very close. They know each other pretty well. Simon just a couple of years older there, but it's always good to have some familiarity between your competition. These guys running comparable lap times between Sikes and Russell. Sikes a little quicker in the first sector, but Russell was quicker in the second.
Sykes setting fast lap of the race so far, a 2:09.6. Russell with a 2:10.2.
Let's keep our eye on what Nolan Allaer does, as he's been quick. Yeah, 2:09.2.
Yeah, he is the quickest of the three.
So 9 seconds back from Russell, but he was a second a lap faster there. Sorry, he's about 7 seconds back from Russell, but about a second a lap faster. So here with about 11 laps to go, there is enough time for Nolan if he continues at this pace, and if anybody in front of him makes a mistake, it could come right into his lap.
And what he has to do is not make a mistake. Is if he can keep his nose clean, if you will, and keep it on the black part rather than getting off in the grass. This is a track, we've talked about it all weekend long, this is a track that punishes errors. There aren't barriers close to the racetrack, as you can see. It's pretty wide open spaces, but in just about every significant turn, the track falls away very steeply off the racing surface. So if you drop a wheel, you're going for a ride.
Yeah, and with all the rain that we've had, with the hurricane blowing through, it's very wet. There's puddles everywhere, and these low ride height cars, if they go off, it's going to be a while for them to get back on. This looks like as Rob Allaer now trying to take a position away from, looks at the 41 at Cordova.
That's the battle for 6th spot, Cordova. Glenn Cordova in the Van Diemen out of Effort, Pennsylvania. Rob Allaer, the veteran, with 2 championships, most recently in 2020. Closing down as they come up into the South Bend.
Rob this week has been challenged with some braking issues in this car. Even took a hardship lap trying to get that worked out. One of these cars you need is that you need trust in your brakes. So daily today, especially with that slick surface, you'd like to be able to control those brakes as you approach some of these high-speed braking corners, like going into Oak Tree, going into 1, or even coming as they are down Madison Avenue to the top of the hill. If you don't have trust in the brakes, you open your braking point up another 30, 40 feet, and you are susceptible to getting that pass. So for Rob, he really does need to be able to trust those. The team's been working hard. We'll see. We'll get an eye on this right now, because is he able to tuck his nose down inside? Not quite, but how early is he on the brakes? Looks like he's doing okay.
Cordova takes the normal racing line. You want to be over driver's left as you approach that turn, sort of corkscrew-like, and the fact that you're turning and going down at the same time. It's the other direction, obviously. But
you want to be driver's left until you need to defend, then you need to be right, because if whoever can get to the right under braking there will have an advantage turning in to enter the roller coaster. Not right there. Obviously, Rob not able to get in there, but that is Rick Payne, the 75.
That's the 4th place
turn
runner.
1.
And he is off at turn 1, just as we saw Nolan Allaer do on the very first lap.
There comes Varacins in the 65, trying to take a spot.
Yep, Michael Varacins right there. And Tim Miner, who started in the 2nd row, back behind that battle we were watching between Glenn Cordova and Bob Allaer, and Tim Miner in recovery mode to try to get back up into the top 6.
Just watching lap times real quick. So Sikes and Russell both in the low 209s. Nolan Allaer 2:08.0, picks up another second on each of them. So now he's 8 seconds back from the lead with 10 laps to go. It's getting interesting.
Yes, indeed. Rick Payne and Michael Varacins, a couple drivers with some experience here at the runoffs. Varacins with 21 runoff starts. Rick Payne with 9 to his credit, as they hit that very tricky South Bend turn and into Oak Tree, double apex right-hander. For those of you that don't know, it is so named because right there on the inside was a big old oak tree back in the day that unfortunately was struck by lightning a couple years ago.
If you jump in your iRacing sim, you'll see that oak tree looks like it's still there.
Yep, exactly right. And here comes Michael Varacins side by side with Rick Payne. Rick may be a little overcautious after that off. So Varacins trying to take advantage.
So I mentioned about having the line down the inside. Watch Payne on the right side of the track. Not ideal normally in dry conditions, but oh, look at him pushing him a little bit wide. But he's got the advantage now on the turn in, going down a roller coaster, able to hold that position.
Varacins, though, a wily competitor. He's going to stay right there. They've got a slower car. That's Gabriel Jasper that they're going around. So Jasper going a lap down early on here. We saw him with an off. Oh, it looks like Varacins or Payne maybe carried a little too much speed down into hog pen, but did not drop the wheel off. Varacins being a little more cautious. He had to deal with that back marker as they were making the run down the roller coaster.
Yeah, the veteran knows if you can just keep it on pavement, good things will happen. So even though he looks like he was slow coming around there while waiting patiently with the lap car, he knows that it's a long race, still 10 laps to go, that you can't go throwing it away because you're trying to pass somebody.
You can see they're riding the rim right around the outside of that turn. Normally they would be right down on the apex, but that's where the grip is. Same thing in NASCAR. Several feet off the usual apex is where the grip is in these damp conditions. Back to the front we go. Simon Sikes and Trevor Russell.
Look at the third car.
Yeah.
Third car in that shot that we just saw in the background. We'll see it here. This is Sikes, the second car Russell. The third one's Allaer, who continues to pound away fastest laps of the race. He's got this now down to about 4 seconds or so behind Russell and putting about 6 behind Sikes. Nolan is coming, maybe having those trim wings. Once he got the little bit of heat in these rain tires, might have been the trick, because his trap speeds are the quickest.
Working their way down what they call Madison Avenue, this back straightaway. Very undulating, as you can see. It dips down, then rises up again. That's the top of the hill. It comes downhill once again and then goes back up just before the braking zone for the roller coaster. As the 32 of Russell late on the brakes, trying to make up a little ground. Again, Russell already a champion in this car in Formula X.
Oh, he's really sliding that car around. Does not want to lose sight of Sikes in front of him. Sikes did a good job of getting past the slower lapped car. Trevor caught him at the wrong time.
Mike Pepitone being passed in the 58 car out of Falls Church, Virginia.
Mike's had a bit of a rough week as well, having some car troubles keeping that thing running, and then the session on Thursday ended up getting cut short, so not able to get a qualifying lap that he was looking for. And now at this point, he even said his goal was to just try not getting in the way of the leaders. But this looks like Rob Allaer now trying to get past the 41 of Cordova here at the top of the hill.
Yeah, they've been battling for a bit now. Allaer right on his gearbox as they head down the hill.
His brakes must be working good for him. He seems to be able to close up almost a lot later, actually, than Cordova. Cordova, though, able to get a pretty good run here off of Hog Pen.
Being a little less cautious, I think, as Allaer being the veteran, I think, certainly has the experience to be sure he doesn't throw it off the road and ruin his chances for a podium spot. This is the battle for 6th position, as Cordova's been doing a good job to keep the multiple champion behind him.
But he used the traditional braking line down there in the dry side of the track, and that is not the easy, not the best grip. If you watched Allaer, he was a little bit more track center. There's a little bit more grip there, and that's why he was able to brake a little later and close this back down.
Cordova, I think, driving in his mirrors just a bit, trying to be defensive, not wanting to give up the inside line. But that might play right into Allaer's hands because the grip is on the outside of these turns, and he might be able to sweep around the outside at a pass that would be tougher, impossible in the dry.
Yeah, I think Rob right now is just waiting for a mistake to happen, biding his time.
This is all happening some 30 seconds, 45 seconds behind the lead battle.
I had asked Rob and Nolan earlier this week, I said, are you guys ever on comms together in the races? And oh, heck no. It's busy enough out there. I don't need to be listening to the other guy complaining about whatever's going on in his race.
Exactly. I've got my own problems. Oh, there's a spin. The 26 goes around. That's Rick Silver running in 10th spot. And just as we suspected, if he gets deep in the grass, the low body clearance is going to make it tough to get rolling again, but he does. And that's at turn 1 once again. I think it's caught another driver out.
Way out there as well. Didn't quite make it to the tire barrier, but he is pretty deep. It's a long, steep hill to get back up.
Bob Allaer pops out in the run up to the top of the hill on the back straightaway. It looks like he's got a car length ahead now. Can Cordoba do the over-under and try to retake that spot?
Yeah, watch the defensive line again, the inside, try to block anything there. He does seem to be in good control of his brakes and be able to hold that position as they run down the roller coaster one more time.
Rob Allaer makes it up into 6th spot. We're at about half distance of this one, so give us a moment to thank some of the sponsors that make this broadcast possible.
Introducing the first ever Mazda CX-50.
Focus, guys. We're in a race to the finish, okay?
Here's where the rubber meets the road.
Have these initiatives moved the needle, like, at all?
Well, let's shift gears a minute.
We're really kind of at the apex here.
We need to put the pedal to the metal. We need to nail those hairpin turns, cross that finish line, and take that checkered flag. Woo!
Hit the track with the world's largest motorsports calendar, track day insurance, and more. Haggerty. Let's drive together.
Why race? Because it's in our blood. A love of driving that pushes us as hard on the road as it does on the track. It's why we reinvented the Roadster and put a piece of it into every car we make. It's why we refine, rethink, and refine again. And it's why we'll always engineer to your heart's BPM, not simply an engine's RPM. Why race? Why indeed?
Welcome back to the Formula Continental races. We have got a battle brewing at the front. Trevor Russell, who's already got a championship in this car this weekend, is running down Simon Sikes. On the last lap, he was over a second faster, and he's closed it down to less than a second at the line. So the battle going on for the first place, but Nolan Allaer continues to set fastest laps. He's quicker than either of them. Well, on that last lap, he was a tenth slower than Trevor Russell.
And Trevor turned his fastest lap of the race. That last lap really closing things on down. He's getting comfortable out there, but he better not get too comfortable because, as you say, Nolan is right behind him. Just about a second and a half, maybe 2 seconds behind. You'll see him coming into Oak Tree just as the other two are exiting. So it's tightening up very much here with only about 5 or so laps to go.
Yeah, the only contender missing from this three-way battle is Tim Minor, who we expected to be right in the thick of this, but Tim is just not having the day that he set out to. He is over a minute behind the leaders, back in 8th position. So Tim Minor just not finding the speed here under these conditions. But look, the top three now just about equally spaced, as Nolan Allaer has closed it down to within about a second of Trevor Russell as they take the dip down the roller coaster.
Yeah, and I'm watching even the sector times again. Allaer picking up time in both the first 2 sectors and beating them on trap speed because, as Hayward pointed out, look at the sliding coming down hog pad, but as Hayward pointed out, the trimmed out wings for Allaer could be paying dividends right now. About 4 or 5 miles an hour quicker, even 7 miles an hour for Allaer ahead of Sikes.
If you look at the profile of the wings on these cars, it looks like Sikes has got the most rear wing dialed in, and then Russell and definitely Allaer.
Great shot right there. You can see all three and how much wing Sikes is carrying versus the guys behind him. Russell now right on his gearbox. But take a look. There's Allaer. Gained another 1.6 seconds on that lap over the 2 in front of him. He's now just basically a second back. It is a 3-horse fight.
Yeah, and when you consider that Allaer went off in the first turn of the first lap and fell nearly to the back of the field, this is a great recovery drive on his part. And the last 5 laps here are going to be great. A 2:07 for Nolan Allaer, the fastest lap of the race, a 2:07.8. The 2 cars in front of him, a 2:09.4 and a 2:09.8.
And that's the 66.
Gabriel Jasper off one more time. a late addition to this field. And unfortunately, he's had an eventful day, not in the right way.
Starting to wonder if maybe the mist is letting up a little bit as watching these sector times start to really drop. They're starting to turn personal best. As you mentioned, Nolan Allaer just turning fastest lap of the race, that 2:07.8. So the mist may be coming down, allowing a little bit more grip out there. We'll see if that changes the tide here a little bit between who's the fastest as the conditions change in the last third of the race.
And you can see there's not nearly as much spray being kicked off by these rain tires as we saw earlier in the race, and that's a pretty good indication that the track is drying.
Yeah. In fact, Sikes just first sector 47.0. Russell and Allaer both slower for the first time we've seen that, but sector 2, Allaer back to old tricks, about a tenth or two quicker than the two in front of him. And now there's the draft of the, is that?
That's the 20, I think that's
McDonald?
Hartley McDonald that they're just going around. Hartley running in the 9th position in that number 27.
Yes, these three lapping so quick now. Only the top 8 on the lead lap.
Allaer was able to get around him as well.
Oh, look at the slide, the catch.
Man, a four-wheel drift every time right there into the hog pen. That is so gutsy because we have seen so many people drop a wheel off at the outside. And then it is into the spin cycle if that happens. So Simon Sikes completing race lap number 10.
The front straight looks like it still has more water on it than the back straight did.
Right.
Back there at the south end, perhaps this mist and this bit of light rain is still hanging over the north end of the track, making it a bit more treacherous. Yeah, definitely a lot more spray coming off these cars than they were coming off of Oak Tree at the other end.
Sykes, perhaps with that additional downforce on the back of the car, is feeling a little more confident that he's got the rear grip he needs so he can hang it out just a bit.
All kinds of slide and dirt tracking going on as they come around NASCAR bend for all three of our drivers. But for the first time we've seen in a while, Sikes quicker than both Russell and Allaer on that lap. Allaer a little bit more trouble getting around that lap car as they were coming down roller coaster. We'll see if he gets that spinning again and can take a bit of a chunk here as they go back through sector 1.
Yeah, he caught Hartley McDonald at just the wrong spot coming over the top of the rise there at the roller coaster, and it cost him some precious time.
Allaer just picked up 7/10 in sector 1 alone, so he's very quick through that twisty bit sector, through the NASCAR 3, the left hook, all the way through the snake there, the lower S's. So Allaer's quick there. We'll see if they can get a good run off of Oak Tree. We know Allaer's quick in a straight line. And look at this, is as closest that Russell's been in a while too.
Exactly right, right on the gearbox of Simon Sikes. And there's Nolan Allaer on Madison Avenue as they pass the south pits and begin the climb. I think Russell's got a run here. He's going to pop out to the left. That's sort of the standard passing maneuver. Can he get enough momentum to get in front and not go side by side? We have a new leader. Do we? As Sikes tries to pay it back, but he can't quite do it. Trevor Russell in front once again.
That's where the higher wing angle that Sikes is running may have cost him a bit. Gives a bigger hole in the air behind him to Trevor, and then gives Trevor the trap speed that he needed to get on by. But Allaer, even with the draft, Allaer by himself actually still had a higher trap speed than the two in front of Russell and Sikes. So Allaer is right there behind them. And look at that, right? You can just see that he's got about maybe 10 car lengths back.
And we're definitely seeing, as you pointed out the last lap, we're definitely seeing the most spray coming off these cars here on the front straightaway. So I think you're absolutely right. As Simon Sikes, all squirrely, and he's into the grass. That's exactly what he had to avoid. As this front part of the racetrack gets wetter and wetter, that is the standard issue off that we've seen throughout the weekend, as this has been a weekend with just all kinds of weather challenges for these drivers in all 26 classes.
Here's a replay. Watch Sikes. Looks like he tries to do a bit of a braking contest to try and stay on that outside, but it's very slippery on that traditional dry line and just doesn't have the grip, locks him up. Able to recover without losing too much, but does drop all the way down to third. The gap down to fourth is pretty big, but right now he's letting Trevor and Nolan pull away from him.
Now he and Nolan have made the same mistake at the same turn. Nolan, being faster, has taken advantage of that to a greater extent, and now he's got his sight sets on Trevor Russell for the gold medal. We've still got about 4 laps to go. We're working race lap number 12. It's Trevor Russell, the newly crowned Formula X champion, flipping the apex there, the second apex of Oak Tree. Begins the run down Madison Avenue with Nolan Allaer trying his best. Russell does not have his rain light on. I notice that the other two do. And that rain light is there for a very valid reason. You can see from the long camera angle, visibility is very tough in these open wheel cars. And if you're close behind, you can lose sight in the spray of the car in front. That's what that rain light is for, to give the following driver some indication of where that car is, because sometimes that's all you can see in the spray.
That young man is willing to slide that car around quite a bit.
Yeah, Allaer much more in control, I would say, not fighting that car nearly as much.
Yeah, both a little bit of slip angle, but not quite as much for Allaer. And I believe he's in the Van Diemen, while Trevor Russell, I think, might be in the side two. Right?
According to the entry list, Trevor is in a Van Diemen, but
okay.
They
maybe it's be a different generation Van Diemens. They look just a little bit different.
They sure do look alike. You know, with the paint job, it's hard to tell exactly.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
Perhaps our rain light might have come back on. So looks like it is. That's good. As they make away again around lap traffic, it's making things very interesting between them. Allaer again just that fastest lap of the race, 2:07s now, 2:07.8. And at this point, you can see the gap on the screen. It isn't much. And Allaer is quickest in every sector, it seems, relative to Russell, though they're pretty even here in the second sector, which they're entering now. But he's got an advantage certainly on the back straight with the slightly more trimmed out wings, so we'll see if he can use that to advantage here with just a handful of laps to go. With 2.5 laps left.
Nolan's dad, Bob, has also finally gotten around Glenn Cordova to move up into 6th spot. So it's a good day for the Allaer family, running in 2nd and 6th as it runs right now. Working their way around Gabriel Jesper once again. Jesper able to stay out of the way. He drops a couple wheels off, trying to disappear from those overtaking cars. But look at this long lens. You get some indication of what these drivers are looking at. That's the view from their visor for the most part.
Yeah. And if you're Allaer in that mist coming off the back of Russell, that's probably exactly what it looks like. He's got the trap speed. Can he make him? Can he push Russell to the inside? He's going to back off this time.
He's showing him that he's there. So Russell having to keep his eyes on his mirrors, aware that Allaer seems to have a little better run in the straight line speed. Russell drifting right out to the edge of the track as they come down the hill into Hog Pen.
Oh, again, just a little twitch as they come through the dip at Hog Pen. It scares me every time, thinking one of these guys is going to go, but so far they're keeping it in control.
We've seen
more laps.
So many cars go off there after just misjudging that final apex. There's a puddle that forms there.
You can see the spray just right into Nolan's face coming off the back of the car. Is he going to lunge?
Down to the inside. Not where the grip is, but oh, and he gets it sideways as well. But a good catch for Nolan as they work their way through the long right-hander at NASCAR. Left-hander, excuse me. Back-to-back left-handers here. The left hook much sharper than the longer radius NASCAR turn 3.
Very tight, very treacherous corner. A little bumpy if you start clipping the curbs around there, but the idea is to get a good run through the snake here as the track kind of wiggles left, right, and you have a little bit of up and down. You can see right there how much it drops down, probably a bit of standing water down there in the middle of it. As you can see, Sikes just entering that. That's how much that cost him by the off that he had in 1. Nolan, though, he's got to be sniffing blood at this point. He's got to be thinking there's got to be an opportunity, but Trevor doing a great job of just not giving him anything. You know, they're throwing. Look how close they're getting to that outside curb. That's indication how that risk reward that they're playing. They're both really pushing hard.
Exactly, and they're running out of time as we'll be coming to the white flag this time by. As we're working race lap 14 of the scheduled 15. Plenty of time left, so the 40-minute time limit will not be a factor here.
We know Nolan's got a trap speed advantage. Let's see if he can get up alongside him this time. If he doesn't do it here, he's going to have to find a way to catch him through the S's next time to be able to set up a pass on the last lap. I don't know that he's close enough this time to do anything yet.
Yeah, he was a little closer last time, I think. As Trevor got a good run off of Oak Tree. Oh, is he going to dive down to the inside?
Nolan's so much more comfortable under braking. You can see that kind of lunge there. That's just he's willing to brake later, which tells me next time by, if he's next to him, it'll be a braking contest.
Down the roller coaster they come. Really wide is Trevor Russell. Nolan with a little tidier line. Perhaps that'll give him a good drive. Down the front straightaway as the white flag in the starter's hand. 1 lap to go.
For Nolan, he's really got to get a good run through left hook and start the snake. If he can stay on his gearbox through those, he can possibly set something up then as he trails him all the way going into Oak Tree. Big slip and slide on the outside. Both of them, just you can see him tiptoeing around one.
Yeah, Nolan thought about going around the inside, and here's the move. He's alongside. Now he'll have the inside line in NASCAR, and he gets it done. I think he learned from that last attempt a lap ago where he tried to go down to the inside. He realized the outside's the better opportunity, and it paid off for him.
More grip, was able to accelerate through there. Now Russell trying to push back and trying to push Allaer off of his line through 4 and 5.
Nolan Allaer, what a great recovery drive after a mistake. At the first turn of the first lap, he's gotten all the way back to the top, passing just about the entire field in the process.
Well, he's got the higher trap speeds. He'll be the lead car, giving a draft. He'll be giving him a bit of a draft to Trevor, but when they get to the top of the hill, we've seen already that Nolan seems to be more comfortable under braking. We'll see if Trevor, big slide for both of them coming around South Bend. We'll see if Trevor can get into that braking contest. They get to the end of Madison Avenue here on the last lap.
They come off of Oak Tree for the final time. Now the tables are turned. Does Trevor Russell have the ability to tuck in the draft of Nolan Allaer? Let's see if he can make that move on the way.
Trying to break that draft. You can see him just a little bit there, but I'll tell you that trimmed out wings may be paying off right now. Yep. Doesn't look like Trevor's able to do anything to catch him.
I don't think so. He's not nearly close enough to make up a challenge here. The only thing he can hope for now is that Allaer makes a mistake heading down the hill. He came across the line after lap 1 in 6th position. He picked up a lot of the spots he'd lost in that first lap. But the 6 in front of him have been formidable, like Simon Sikes and Michael Varacins. Here they come to the line. Nolan Allaer looking for his first championship. It's a family affair for the Allaer family as he's going to take it. Nolan Allaer joins his dad as a gold medal winner at the runoffs. Trevor Russell leading just about all the laps except the one that counted. And here comes Simon Sikes. He'll still salvage a medal. And I'm sure he's rueing that mistake right here a handful of laps ago where he just kept his braking a little bit too late.
Allaer was definitely the fastest car on track that entire race. Had to come back from the off that he had down in turn 1. Great drive to take the lead on the last lap. And Dad Rob's still fighting out there.
Rick Payne right behind him. Yeah, the two veterans working their way up the hill. So Bob looking for a 5th place finish here as Michael Varacins right there coming out of your shot is far enough out in front.
Rob trying to make sure there's 2 cars in the family that go to the tech shed today.
Top 6 go to the tech shed. Oh, late brakes for Rick Payne as he tries to take a bonsai move around the outside. I think he might have caught Bob Allaer a bit by surprise.
I think he might have caught himself by surprise. I don't think he meant to be quite that deep on those brakes. And yeah, that Martini livery came up on him fast. That rear wing looks a little loose there for Payne.
Yeah, it's canted a bit. Yeah, I think it's definitely not perpendicular to the racetrack. Is he going to get a run here in the run to the stripe? Not quite. So Bob Allaer takes 5th place honors. Rick Payne comes across in 6th. Here we go as we're going to see the sequence of events that allowed Nolan to take that pass.
So he runs the wide line there, which there's good grip out there as long as there's no standings water. And at this point there's not, but there's definitely grip. And you can see his motors around him, and on the inside, Russell struggling for grip. Had the car tank slap a little bit, can't get the power down, gives up the position, and that's your race.
That was the decisive move right there. Coming around on his cool down lap, Nolan Allaer, Grosse Pointe, Michigan, 2nd generation racer, brings home the gold medal.
I don't know if he planned that move or if he just, it was what presented itself in the moment, but either way, successful and victory, gold medal for Nolan.
Here's your unofficial results. Look how much of an advantage the top 3 had over the rest of the field. Nolan Allaer, your winner. Trevor Russell, only 3/4 of a second back. Simon Sikes, after that mistake, comes home 3rd, but then it's over a minute back to Michael Varacins, the multiple 7-time national champ. Bob Allaer comes home in 5th, getting around Rick Payne on the last few laps. Glenn Cordova, Tim Minor, Hunter Tatman, and Rick Silver rounding out your top 10. We'll have a chance to chat with our top 3 finishers. Nolan Allaer, Trevor Russell, and Simon Sikes As they're working their way down the pit lane, our intrepid pit reporter, Hayward Wagner, will have an opportunity to interview these top three, and I'd be curious to see what Nolan Allaer's comments are after probably kicking himself for that boo-boo on the first turn of the
Well,
first
in the
lap.
Formula F race, he had a similar error that cost him. He still ended up pulling it back on the podium. By the way, Trevor Russell was also on that podium.
Yep.
But this time, a little bit of a mistake there early, but he gathered it, was able to come back, and maybe realizing that, hey, this race is still coming to him. Quickest car in the field. Great, great run for Nolan.
Trevor Russell and Simon Sikes already in position. Nolan taking his time on the cool-down lap as he makes his way to the front of the line. CC giving him directions there.
This young podium, this youth is very fast. These kids, they grow up early. They're all so quick, and they're going to be around for a long time.
Look at this. He is just beside himself. What a great story this will be, I'm sure.
See if Dad can get over there quick enough and park the car.
It's one of those deals where, you know, there's been a lot of talk about, well, the SCCA is graying. There are too many old people. It is so great to see these youngsters coming in and you know, taking the wins at the highest levels of amateur road racing. And you think this kid is pumped?
Yeah, just a bit.
He is absolutely happy. Let's send it down to Hayward Wagner. You got an exuberant winner there, and he's going to get the thanks of his dad. Hey, what a great story. Go ahead, Hayward, it's all yours.
Guys, obviously a lot of emotion here as the Allaer family celebrating. Nolan, I gotta ask you the first question. How certain were you that you'd thrown it away?
Immediately I thought I was done, but as soon as we turned that first lap time, I could tell that they gave me an incredible car, and I could just still see Sikes and Trevor in the distance, and I just knew that if I put my head down and listened to what they were telling me, I knew there was a chance. And oh my God, wow, I can't even. It doesn't even feel like this is happening right now.
There's not a lot of people that are second-generation SCCA national champions in the same class as their parent. How does it feel to be able to continue a family tradition in Formula Continental?
That means anything. That's way more than the win. It doesn't matter what we were doing. I grew up cleaning this car. I literally, I've been sitting in this car since I was 2 years old, and I can't even begin to explain how much it means to me to follow in his footsteps and win one in his car. And he made the ultimate sacrifice for me this weekend by taking the car I was going to drive, and I'm in his now.
What did he say to you just now?
I didn't even hear. It was mostly just screaming, mostly screaming.
Well, you get to take one more lap in Dad's car, a victory lap. Congratulations, your first national championship.
Thank you so much. It means everything. I'd like to thank my sponsors, Martini, Evan Williams, Shandon, the LTD Motorsports crew for giving me an incredible car. I could not have done it without all of them. It just means so much.
Congratulations to you. And we're going to grab second and third.
Let's see. Go ahead.
Trevor, you had battles. You were by yourself for a while. It was all over the place. How did that race feel for you?
It was just fun throughout the whole race. Lots of battling between first, second, and third, and I couldn't have asked for a better race.
Well, congratulations. Another podium for you. Silver this time.
Yeah. I'm glad. I'll take anything I can get.
And we've got our third place finisher. These guys all know each other. They're all like hugging and trying to get together. All right, here's our bronze finisher. How much fun, just be honest, how much fun is it to drive one of these cars around VIR in the rain?
Oh, I'd pick every rain race if I had the choice. It was a blast out there. You get a little sideways, have a little fun, makes it interesting, and it brings out the best of everyone. So today just wasn't our day, but I felt we did a good job to try and push, and we led a good half of the race, and unfortunately we just couldn't close it out.
Well, congratulations, a bronze, still a runoffs podium.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, you can't complain about that at all. Get to stand up there at the end of this week. Everyone's worked so hard. Greg Rice, the whole Rice Race Prep crew. Thanks to Hoosier Tire. Their support's always been a lot. And Sandy from Quicksilver making just the fastest engines out there. I mean, none of this would have been possible, and this whole week of effort would have been for nothing. We couldn't go out there and do it today.
Great job. Congratulations.
Think about Nolan Allaer, again, growing up in the family, racing his dad's car. This is only his second runoff start. He finished third at Indy a year ago, made this mistake on the very first lap, and I'm sure he thought, we're done. But he just picked his way back through the field. That's Rick Payne making a move there. then side-by-side racing. That's when Nolan
That's
Allaer
Dad.
moved up.
Yeah, that's
his
Rob,
dad. Yeah, finally making the pass on Glenn Cordova. And then here's the pass that we thought might have been the decisive one, as Trevor Russell, after chasing Simon Sikes for most of the race, Sikes, trying to repay the favor, just carried a little too much speed. And there goes the eventual winner by on the inside. After an abortive attempt a lap earlier, Nolan Allaer gets it done around the outside of the horseshoe, and that was all he needed to keep that lead to the checkered flag. Already with his fist in the air, Nolan Allaer, in his second runoff start, he finished on the podium at Indy a year ago, but he takes the top step. There's his dad giving him congratulations just before he goes out on his lap of honor.
Tell him to be nice to my car.
Yeah,
It was good
exactly.
to you.
Don't stuff it in the weeds on the honor lap. So that's going to put paid to the Formula Continental Championship, an exciting one in the rain here at VIRginia International Raceway, as we continue with the last handful of races in the 2022 edition of the SCCA National Championship Runoffs. For Lefty McLeod, myself, John Phippen, and Hayward Wagner, thanks for being with us. We'll see you down the road.